Hey, it's Tara with Reiki on the Run, and I got a comment on a video I did yesterday about living with people who are asleep, and I wanted to just do a video about it because it's a great question. It was, what does it mean to be awake, and how do you know? Very valid question, especially since I didn't know what it meant for a few years after the process started. So we'll talk about that, about what it means to be awake, and just be sure that you understand that these are just my experiences. Everyone experiences things differently. I don't claim to know everything. I'm just a normal person who has gone through this awakening, and I'm going to explain to you what I've experienced and what I think it means and how you can tell and things like that. So don't take my word as some sort of end all be all. Do your own research for sure, but everything I talk about are things that either have happened to me or I completely resonate with. So take that for whatever you'd like. So being awake, being aware, called a spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, in my opinion, is just a rise in consciousness. Consciousness is just awareness. And aside from the fact that I think the whole earth is raising its consciousness, if you ever heard the talk about 3D to 5D, I think that's a thing, and I think it's happening to everyone, whether they like it or not. The whole earth is shifting, which is why you see all these government systems and things crumbling down that aren't working anymore. That's why a lot of people are experiencing anger. There's a lot of divorce going on. There's a lot of turmoil right now. Everything is chaotic, and that's because we're shifting to a higher vibration. And that's kind of what happens when you go through a spiritual awakening, when you wake up, is that everything shifts loose from you. Everything gets shaken up, and it might seem like a lot of conflict and a lot of drama, and what it is that you're waking up and you're raising your consciousness to a higher vibration. But let's not get too woo-woo. So it's really interesting. So if you wake up, you might not know. You might not understand what it is. I know I did not know. I think I woke up in about 2012, maybe end of 2011, and there was a definite change and there was a definite new awareness, but I did not have that label of waking up. I didn't know what that meant or what was going on. I've always felt a little different than most people. I've always fit in everywhere, no problem, but I've always felt a little different or off. So it wasn't that abnormal for me to be waking up and feeling different, feeling like things were weird and things like that. So it didn't really strike me as too crazy. So some of the things that I think are telltale signs that were, for me now looking back, that if you're wondering if you're waking up, and the first one was cognitive dissonance. That's when you have issues because you have a belief that you hold and you've been presented with new information and they are conflicting, but you're resonating with the new information, but you've got this belief you've held probably since you were a child. Everyone around you holds it and yada yada. So that starts causing problems. You start resonating with new information, but you believe this, and it really causes some inner turmoil that you might not know what to do with. Some real basic practical things the first thing is that I couldn't lie anymore. Since I was a kid, I could lie. No problem. Get out of trouble, I can lie. So that was never a big thing. I mean, I wasn't a thief, or I wasn't a horrible person. I wasn't out cheating people on the regular or anything like that. But I did not have a problem calling my boss up and saying, I don't feel good today, and then going to the beach. no problem. They wouldn't give me a day off. That's how I'd take it. So that was one of the interesting things that happened. I all of a sudden felt this pull inside me. It just didn't work anymore. Now I can omit like a son of a bitch, but I can't lie. I don't lie. It's not in me anymore. It doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't feel good. And that was one of the first things that I noticed. Some other things were food. I started having a lot of weird reactions almost to food. I couldn't eat a lot of the processed food, and I'll eat some junk. I'll still eat a Big Mac. But I was having a lot of issues with foods, and I had never had that problem before because I could eat anything. I still I'll eat any junk food, but I remember very specifically it was this frozen, the first time I really noticed it was this frozen TGI Fridays junk that was in my freezer, potato skins, which I love. I ate them and it gave me a headache. And then so I put it up, I'm like, that's weird. So then I tried it again a few days later, instant headache. So that was one of the first times I noticed it, but I really started having a problem with foods that had, GMO stuff. That's when I started learning about all that. Just chemicals, I don't know what it is, but I started having a reaction to food and didn't have that reaction if I got a hold of fresh food that hadn't been processed, that didn't have any chemicals. So, and like I said, I was never a natural person. I would eat junk food any day, still will eat junk food, but it was really, really noticeable. A lot of that processed stuff started affecting me and giving me physical symptoms like a headache, making me just not feel good and not enjoying it. Sometimes I'd get a different taste in my mouth. I'd get a film on my tongue or something. So that was one of the big ones. People were drawn to me. I would have random people be drawn to me in my life, and maybe they were just there to give me a book, tell me about a book, introduce me to an idea of something that I would later hear and remember that person mentioning it and it allowing me to be open to things. So I would get these synchronicities. I'd run into these random people that would kind of help me on my path as stepping stones. And it seemed really random at the time, but looking back, totally normal. And then also I started craving natural things. Like I couldn't light a candle. I used to always have candles lit that smelled up the house, and I couldn't that fake like vanilla or candy apple. I had all these body scrubs and all these things. I loved all that foofy smell, and I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't deal with those fake chemical smells, and I started leaning more towards natural things, lavender, and I became one of those people. Crunchy and which is weird because that's definitely not who I was. But I actually had physical symptoms toward these things. So very interesting stuff. Those are all things that I noticed in the beginning, and that I didn't understand what was going on. But as I look back and as I've heard from other people, that's something that also happened to them. So, all right, what's next? Sorry, got my notes here. So let's talk about some downsides, because there were definitely some downsides. Ignorance is bliss. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. It's really easy to have your eyes shut. And that's one thing, before we get started on this, that's one thing that happens when you wake up. You wake up to what's really going on in the world, and you start understanding what truth really is, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. Something that I really, really struggled. There are things that will come to light, things that you might have thought were just conspiracy theories before, or a lot of things that you will resonate with, that you will see and you will understand and you will start to believe when before you thought no way. And it can be really hard when you wake up and find out that you've been lied to about who you are, about who people you've looked up to are, stuff going on in politics. When you learn the truth, it can be really hard. And think that's part of the reason a lot of people don't want to wake up. Sometimes you find out things that you couldn't even imagine in your head that could be true. And it's like a kick in the gut. I remember there's one thing I looked into and went down the rabbit hole and completely resonated and understood it was truth. And I was sick for about 2 weeks. I couldn't eat. I just, it's a hard thing to go through. Very worth it. But ignorance was bliss. It was a lot easier before my eyes got open, before I understood things more. And so that was kind of difficult to just kind of want to go back to when I thought I could just watch TV and be mindlessly entertained and ignore the world. And so, yeah, ignorance was bliss. I kind of missed that. I wouldn't trade it now for anything, but there were times where I was like, can I undo this wake up, please? Another thing too is, like we talked about the other day, you can't wake other people up. So it's really stressful when you can see things and you're awake and aware and other people don't, and you're like, ugh. But hopefully you can remember that you didn't see it either and be easy on yourself and them. Another one is really hard is relationships change. You stop resonating with people. When you start raising your vibration, people that you used to hang out with, if they're not climbing with you, and a lot of times we can climb really fast, so you can even, meet someone and then you guys jive for a month and then you keep going, they're staying, and that's something you have to deal with. But it's really hard in the beginning because the relationships that you've had, usually for years and years and years or your lifetime, they don't jive anymore because you're not in the same vibrational frequency. And that's all it is. It's just a moving of, if you understand that we're all energy, that's, kind of a big thing to grasp too, but it's true. And so we're in a vibrational universe. And so as you move up and down in frequency, you only have situations around you that will be drawn to you that resonate in the same vicinity of energy that you're emitting. And so when you're waking up, you're raising your consciousness, your vibration, because everything is energy. So a thought is energy. So as you're raising your thoughts and getting clearer, you won't resonate with people that you used to resonate with, and that can be really painful. So maybe you find yourself still hanging out with people, but doing shit you don't want to do, like going to the bar and doing shots, and it's just not your thing. It doesn't feel good, but that's your friends, and it gets really hard. And, maybe your parents, you don't agree with stuff anymore, and it just drives you insane that they can't see it, and you just feel like you don't have that connection anymore. I can imagine I was married when I woke up. I didn't realize what was happening, but that too, you can be in a relationship, a marriage, or a romantic relationship where all of a sudden it doesn't resonate anymore. And that's really hard. That's really hard because you have to shift from being that person who just stays because that's the thing to do, and versus taking my higher path and chasing after my joy. And when you are moving in that direction and you want to grow and you're with someone or around people who don't want to grow, it's really a struggle. You want to stay there and be loyal, and you love those people and you don't want to lose them or upset them. But man, you just have this desire to grow and do other things. So that's a big downside to it. Again, all these downsides, totally worth it when you come out the other side, but it definitely shakes you up. And you can really feel alone. That's a big bummer. So I almost feel like there's this hermit stage that you go through. So you do kind of release all the things around you and you end up spending a lot of time alone, whether you want to or not. And that's really just to start embodying all this stuff, being in your energy, figuring out what the hell's going on. But it does get really lonely because you can feel like you're the only person that gets it. And before the lonely is the crazy. I can't tell you how many times I thought, am I just fucking insane? Am I totally losing my mind? Because the things that I would think and understand, and it would just be so insane, and nobody else is even close to thinking these things, and then, luckily as you grow, if you're watching this, you can understand, you find people on YouTube and you find resources online, and it starts to ease that feeling of insanity and loneliness. But definitely a downside to waking up. Unfortunately, you can't undo it. You can't see the light and undo it. You can fight it. You can still engage in lower frequency activities. You can hang out with the old friends. You can not research new things, but it's not going to turn off. So I would suggest heading for it full force. And just to be clear too, nobody is better than anyone else. It's not a race. It's not, haha, I'm at this vibration and you're at this vibration. It's kind of, we're all at different places. We're all where we're supposed to be, where we want to be. And we all learn at different times. And if you believe in different lifetimes, maybe that. But, if you think about a baby, you don't yell at a baby because it's not walking yet and it's still crawling. It's just, you don't do that. Oh, well, my baby did it at so many months, and you don't do that. And it's all the same. There's no judgment. There's no, you don't look down upon people because they're not at the vibration you're at. It's all really a personal journey, and none of that matters where someone's at. It's hard to hang out with people because the resonance isn't there, and it's almost like, when you flip over the magnet and it's kind of repels. And so that, happens with relationships. So if you're going through these things, and honestly, if you watch me, I would probably say you are awake or waking up. You usually get drawn to me, and I assure you that all of the people who used to watch me because they thought I was some cute blonde completely unsubscribed the first day I showed up with dreadlocks. So probably, if you're watching me, you're probably awake or waking up. And like I said, I didn't know for a few years what the hell was going on. I just knew everything was crazy. And so I'm here to remind you who you are, to give you ways to expand and to raise your frequency if that's what you wish to do. We all, we go at a pace where we're supposed to be, but there are things, like I talk about, without drinking alcohol or moving your body or meditating and things like that. All of these things can clear your energy field quicker, and you can raise your consciousness quicker. And these are great things because you learn the more you do, the better life gets after it shakes all the crazy out. And most people go through pretty crazy something, they call it the dark night of the soul. I don't get too much into the labels and the super woo-woo, but that's what it is, people, and you lose a lot at the same time too. Sometimes it's like you get divorced, you lose your job, you get cancer. I mean, it's crazy. You lose shit, everything shakes up and changes, and it seems out of your control, but it really is the only way to perpetuate change, because a lot of times we'll never make those choices on our own. I remember losing a job once that I never would have left, but I hated it. But it paid the bills well, and I worked from home, and and I never would have left, but every day I hated it. And so sometimes things have to get shaken loose, and as we move up in frequency as a whole planet, those things are going to have to cut loose. So that's why I talk about these things that you can do to make it an easier transition, to kind of speed up and get out of the funky, but it's not required. I think everyone's just going to raise anyway. So let me see here. So I'm here to help you with that, to help remind you who you are, and the things that I say will trigger you and make you remember. And so maybe sometimes when you're listening to me, you have like a resonance and you feel like you know me, and that's because you do, because our souls have met, and we're here to help each other, and that's what I'm doing. And so you might feel a remembrance when you listen to me. You might feel triggered and annoyed too. That's okay. Same thing. It's all energetic. So even if you don't always understand what I'm saying, you're getting the energy just through me talking to you. So that's what I'm here for, to help you wake up. We're all here to help each other. You guys help me too. So this isn't like I'm not some guru or something. I'm totally just a normal person who has been through all of this, and I want to help make it a little easier for you guys, anyone who's also going through this, because I think that's what I'm here to do, and because life is so much better when you get these things. And I've tried a lot of things, so I just like to share what I've learned. And I think that's it. I have some books that I always have underneath my, not my books. I have links to 6 books that changed my life. And I did a video a long time ago about them, but they're always included down below in the description box. And most of them, I think you can actually listen to online if you don't have the money to buy books or aren't in a place where you can get them. I have a playlist called Audiobooks to Consider, and I try to keep them in there. Sometimes they get deleted off, but really good books. The Power of Now was one of the biggest game changers for me, although that's a very deep book. So if you're not a deep thinker and big reader, you might want to do The Untethered Soul was also really good for kind of the same thing. I think the biggest shift in waking up and awareness and things like that. So if you're interested, go down there, check out those books. Those are all books that really quickened my awakening, really just woke me up more, really made me understand a lot more. I really gained a lot of clarity and understanding. So maybe they will the same for you. Check all those out. Not my books. My books will be the first link. Go down further and you'll see it says like 6 books that changed my life. If you're interested in my books, that's great too. I've written some books, some fun books, some workbooks, some all different stuff. That link is down there too. And if you guys would be interested, I would be happy to talk more about, I don't really know all this, and I don't know for sure, you know, it's such a weird thing. It's just like with the God of the Bible and Jesus and all these things with history for me. I wasn't there, so I don't know what the true story is with everything, but I really believe in the waves that like Dolores Cannon talks about. I think there was a big awakening in 1987 and then 2012, which is when I woke up. And then one is happening right now, and a bunch of people are waking up right now, and a lot more are expected to be at the end of this month. And so I could talk more about that, but that's just kind of woo-woo, hearsay, new agey maybe stuff. But if you guys are interested, let me know, and I will chat about that and the consciousness of the earth rising. But anyway, I hope that kind of makes sense. I didn't realize it was going to be such a long video. I don't know if there's a short way to do it, but anyway, thank you for the question. I hope this explains things. If anybody has a question that I didn't cover, or if it doesn't make sense, leave a comment and I will try to answer it. All right, I will talk to you soon.